Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. It's episode number 85, October the 6th, 2021. And the event that we'll be discussing today, myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole, the largest Briggs & Stratton 206 race, essentially in the history of the 206 program. The Karts North America Grand Nationals from Newcastle Motorsports Park. Lots to dive into this, a tremendous weekend. Weather played a part again, but looking forward to getting this report from David Cole. This week's show presented by Briggs Racing. Briggs & Stratton is powering Operation Grassroots around the world. No other engine manufacturer is getting new and returning drivers to the kart track like the Briggs 206. The out-of-the-box performance of the Briggs 206 provides the most fun, excitement, and reliability of any karting engine on the global market. Learn more about the 206 engine, its history, and all the history behind the Briggs & Stratton's century-long commitment to motorsports at www.briggsandstratton.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you? All right, David Cole, you were trackside. Let's dive into this thing. Massive event. Had a ton of momentum coming in. The Karts North America Grand Nationals 5.
Yeah, you pretty much wrapped up the overview. That it was the largest Briggs & Stratton only event in North America and around the world. Probably one of the largest karting events we'll have all season in terms of sprint racing, that is. Obviously, road racing is a little bit different. But yeah, in terms of sprint racing, probably the biggest race of the season. We talked about, it's kind of like the runoffs where we get people from all over the country, one international driver, one from Bermuda. So that was our only international driver, nobody from Canada, unfortunately. So that's something we'll talk about a little bit later in the post, in the wrap up. But it just had that feel. We talked about it in the Outlap preview podcast about just how kind of unique and special this event is growing to be.
Yeah, big time. Over the first couple ones started rolling. People were getting excited about it. Hey, this is kind of going to be our big 206 race. There really wasn't a big 206 race only event, kind of spinning off everything that the guys at Karts North America were doing. And then again, numbers breed numbers. David, you and I talk about it all the time. It's people start coming in, and all of a sudden, hey, this Masters field's 30 guys. Well, I got to go. Or hey, the juniors are at 35. Oh, we got to go. So the fear of missing out most definitely playing. Hey, for me, I wasn't able to be there, for God's sakes.
Not in person.
Well, yeah, that's so funny. Oh my God, we'll talk about that too. So, folks, the race we're talking about, of course, happened this past weekend, September 30th to October 3rd at Newcastle Motorsports Park, the 5th running of the Grand Nationals. David, you could talk weather, but I know I was in Mid-Ohio, so I was like 3 hours drive time east of you. So everything you were getting, I was getting as well. Eventually, we had perfect days on Thursday and Friday at Mid-Ohio for the Road to Indy finale. You guys were awesome as well on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, it felt like a summer. It felt like literally we were in there. We were just there in August for the summer Superkarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, and it kind of felt like that without the humidity. Nice. Sun was shining, it was, you were sweating your butt off in the seat and in the pits, wrenching away. It was, so you had, shade was a good thing to find, come Friday afternoon, during qualifying sessions, but, that all changed. Obviously, October weather, actually, anytime you're in Indiana, you're going to find rain, but,
right.
Rain was on and off throughout Saturday and Sunday. Thankfully, it was still warmer temperatures. It wasn't that cold rain that we've had before in the two previous events at the Grand Nationals. So all in all, at least warm temperatures kept us from freezing our butts off. But we did get that on and off rain, which kept things interesting throughout Saturday and Sunday's racing.
Yeah, as I'm trying to kind of watch what you guys were doing, following your coverage and everybody was posting on social media, I'm like, man, here we go. It's rain tires. It's slicks. It's rains. You got to roll the dice and that
back and forth.
Isn't that the shittiest way to do it?
And
right?
Forth. Yeah.
If you're gonna rain, just rain.
You don't need to tell me it's shitty. I know exactly why it was shitty.
True. I was in a nice warm booth the entire weekend. Hilarious.
Well, I just meant the fact of choosing the wrong direction.
You did go the wrong direction. When we get to the Masters category, you can lament the fact that you chose poorly. Let's look at by the numbers, as we always do in these debrief podcasts. Back in 2019, the event that I was able to attend, 281 entries, a slight bump, even amidst COVID, the slight bump to 296. But 374 entries, I think you've logged down as qualifying this particular weekend. That's massive, the bump to get. When we talked about potentially 300 and wow, maybe 350, and man, 374 without any Canadians, as you said. This thing's got all the earmarks of a 500 entry event coming up in a couple of years.
Yeah, the report was 404 entries, and that was before the cancellation. So a number of people ended up canceling their trip to Newcastle. So again, our total is based off those that were counted towards qualifying.
Yeah, the two biggest classes, the senior medium category at 63, the junior category at 62. Junior actually bumping up about 14 from last year. Senior medium actually dropping down 10 from 73 to 63. A couple categories, David, in the 50s, including the sportsman class, the senior light class. You guys in Masters got pretty close at 47.
Yeah, nearly got to that 50 mark. Again, I think we were there at the preview when we talked about it in our outlap, but a couple cancellations there. New for this year was the Legends division, which was 50 years old and up. And so that made its debut at 38, which awesome, was a solid number. Again, you had some drivers doing both Masters and Legends, and then some just doing Legends. So I mean, that helped boost the numbers, because a lot of these guys were just tired of racing the Masters division and wanted to just kind of be in their own group with the over 50 crowd.
Yeah, and again, good numbers for the kid kart category, over double from last year at 18, senior medium at 41, all told 374 entries posted in qualifying. Great numbers, great way to continue this upward momentum. And David, the bottom line is this thing's just going to keep growing. People are going to get more excited about it. You'll talk about the race weekend itself, but everything I was able to glean from what I saw on social media, everybody really, really happy. No red flags, I think, either, right?
Yeah, that's something that, is amazing. I think everybody kind of kept their heads on. Wet weather kind of helps with that, because when you're racing in the wet, it's much more difficult to get the harder impacts. Yeah, slower speeds you see, that we saw, in the last couple of years at the Grand Nationals, where guys were just kind of over driving their capabilities. But no red flag. They did have a couple incidents here and there, a couple medical people getting checked out, but no actual stoppage of racing, no ambulance rolling. All in all, a pretty safe weekend, aside from bikes in the paddocks, which were a bit of an issue throughout the weekend. And thankfully they stopped that Sunday as much as they could. But again, I'm going to be the old man to get off my lawn type scenario here, and just the fact that we don't need this amount of entries, we don't need bicycles just rolling around for no reason whatsoever.
Agreed. I agreed. Too many people in that paddock. Bottom line, by the numbers, 374 in total. A strong year for this Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. And again, things moving upwards, so expect even more in 2022. Time to jump into our first break of the action here, folks. When we get back, we'll go into the paddock pass. David will give us some of the information based on what happened throughout the paddock as well. Not on track, but actually inside the paddock and what was happening. We'll get back to that. Lots more to come here on this edition of the Debrief.
Wins at the sport's biggest races and championships across all levels of karting make up the resume for Nitro Kart. The Nitro Kart has made its statement as the best, fastest, and most reliable cadet chassis on the North American karting market. The 2021 Cadet is the evolution of that success, featuring the latest development and components to put you at the front. If you want to win in Cadet, get a Nitro Kart and join the team. The Nitro Kart Cadet claimed 5 victories at the SCUSA Pro Tour, including the Mini Swift Championship in 2020. At the United States Pro Kart Series, Nitro Kart Cadet earned 5 wins and 14 podiums in mini and micro competition. For a second straight year, Nitro Kart won the U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals in the Minimax division, bringing the title total to 4 in 4 years. If you've seen it on track, it certainly caught your eye. Dominating the 4-cycle world is the Nitro Kart Lefty chassis. The chassis is designed for the Briggs & Stratton 206 engine with a left side mount for better weight distribution. The Lefty is available in cadet and full-size frames. The Nitro Kart Lefty won the CKNA Grand Nationals 4 in both sportsman and junior categories, with fast time in qualifying for the senior division. Drivers with the Lefty were ranked number 1 in the Briggs & Stratton Weekly Racing Series for junior and cadet divisions. Team Nitro Kart will be at all major events in 2021 with programs tailored to every driver's needs. Focused on driver development, the cadet program under Team Nitro Kart has helped develop some of today's stars, including Brent Cruz, Parker DeLong, Ben Mayer, and Spencer Conrad. Visit Nitro Kart online and find them on Facebook and Instagram.
You can buy all the latest and greatest products on the market. But when you're karting to win, it boils down to one thing: you, the driver. Gain the knowledge and abilities by investing in yourself at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, and you'll find those extra tenths of a second you need to put yourself on the podium. The school was established by SuperKarts USA Hall of Fame driver Alan Rudolph, with decades of victories and championships in multiple forms of the sport, including other disciplines of racing. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the Speed Sports Racing Park in the metropolitan Houston area, is designed to teach driving skills at all levels. The instructors of the Academy have decades of racing experience and educating drivers of all ages. Classes at the Academy will teach the concepts and skills needed both behind the wheel and off the track. From the beginning kart racing experience and intro to karting courses, to their advanced 1-day and 2-day courses and karting clinics, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can improve the skills of any driver. For more information on the specific programs that the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can provide for you, head to speedsports.com and click on the Racing Academy page. Be sure to follow the Academy on social media by searching for Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Welcome back to episode 85 of the EKN Debrief. As David Cole taking us on a deep dive into this past weekend's Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals, 5th edition of the race. We'll jump now into the Paddock Pass, or we'll talk about more things that happened away from the racetrack itself. This edition of the Paddock Pass presented by Franklin Motorsports. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and they can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. They specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, and of course, their championship-winning Merlin chassis. They've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for years, from providing a helping hand in a weekend test outing or a club event to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. All right, David, Paddock Pass time. This usually gets started the minute you roll in there and walk through the doors. People start chatting away about what's going on. A lot of things happening about the weekend itself. Schedules announced for next year. It's the big race, right? So it's the finale for Cup Karts North America. So much to talk about with the new year coming and the event itself.
Well, the event itself was kind of the kind of opening talking point when you were around the paddock. Especially with the new format that included an unofficial practice on Thursday. Previous events of the Grand Nationals, there wasn't really much of anything going on Thursday aside from some move-in. Yeah. And then unofficial practice was on Friday before they had official practice on Saturday. Now it's become essentially a 4-day event with the unofficial practice this year on Thursday. Allowed drivers to get 4 sessions in on that day, again run by the racetrack, not the series itself, and then official practice beginning Friday morning with 3 rounds for each category before we moved into the qualifying sessions at the end of the day. With the kind of change in the format, that adjusted kind of the format of the racing itself. Previously, there were 3 heat races, where this year they moved to just 2 heat races. So that was kind of a little bit of a talking point. And, yes, they extended the heat race laps a little bit to kind of compensate for the loss of the 3rd heat, and then kind of extended the main events 1 or 2 laps longer as well too. So essentially, you're getting the same amount of track time, just not as many sessions when you look at it as heating or for the heat races. And then also, last year we saw the breakup into heat groups with sportsman, junior, and senior medium. They did that again for 2021. We thought it was going to be more categories, but thankfully, with the way the numbers panned out, those were the only 3 divisions that were broken up into those heat groups. So essentially what they did is they took the qualifying order, they put all the odd finishers into one heat group, and then all the even finishers in the other heat group, and let them run twice. And again, the way the heat formats are for the Grand Nationals, progressive. So you start where you qualify in heat 1, but then you start heat 2 where you finish from heat 1. So that is a little bit different than that 2 heat race format that we're typically used to. Yeah. But they still add up the points after each of the heat races to kind of position you in the main event.
Oh, okay. Really interesting. All right.
Yeah. So it ended the progression after heat 2. So they still took your heat points. So yeah, if you finished, first and third, you get your points for first and third, and that's where you line up for.
Yeah, the weird thing is you could literally you could start last in the first heat race and finish 15th, and then go on and win the second heat race from 15th, and still probably start 14th or 15th in the grid, right? Which is kind of weird.
It would be like, when they use different point structure for the heats, where we're used to getting the points that you get for position. So yeah, that would be like 16 points in a normal kind of thing, where they do the opposite. You get the more points you get for finishing first. They do like 100 down to whatever they do. So
how they line things up for Sunday?
So yeah, based on those points that you get over the 2 heat races, they'll line you up for the main events on Sunday.
And how much racing was on Sunday? You guys get a warm up?
Last chance qualifiers for the sportsman, junior, and senior medium divisions. 40 were included for the main event for sportsmen. So the top 30 in points continued on. All the rest went in the LCQ for 10 positions, qualifying into the main event. Junior and senior medium, it was top 40 in the points were automatically in. And the last 10 were gained from the last chance qualifiers in those races. So all the LCQs were done beforehand, and then the full field warm-ups were taking place before the main events began Sunday afternoon.
All right, let's talk layout. You and I talked a lot about it. Obviously, they came up with a brand new track 50, a new kind of layout for the event. Rolling past, instead of going left at turn 4, you're going right into the oval, but then clockwise around the oval, then a left-hander dig up onto the ski jump. Challenging layout, David. What are your thoughts on it? You got a chance to drive it, so we're literally going to the guy that drove it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, a lot more challenging than the previous layout for sure. Yeah. The national layout's obviously a fan favorite. And that, as you said, that left-hander they took away was probably one of my favorite corners, because it kind of set up a pass going into what I believe is green corner. The ski jump certainly kind of was a marking point on every lap. Some drivers would go in differently. That was kind of the thing. You kind of watch how drivers would go through. You certainly had to have a cart that would handle the bumps, because there was some bumps going through that transition before you drop down the hill. Mm-hmm. That was a bit challenging, and it was actually interesting in the rain. All that section, because it's not utilized, was pretty much the dry line.
I was going to say, yep, no rubber down, right?
There was no rubber down. Only what we put down, but not like what you see on the national layout. So even through the cut through there between the 2 long straightaways, that was pretty much a dry line in the wet. So it made for some interesting racing. I like the layout. It was good. The ski jump wasn't as bad, as what you see with like the shifters or the X30s, because again, you're coming through a corner before you hit that. So it's not like you're going through there at 65 miles an hour or even faster than what you see with the shifters and that. But it's certainly set up for some good passing zones, certainly made for some bumper to bumper action through that section. But, and again, the rest of the racetrack, a lot of good different passing opportunities. Going through, as you talked about, making that transition from national to the oval, that was probably one of the sketchiest areas because, you come out of turn 3 and you keep it as wide as you can. Normally you would cut back to the right to set up for the left-hander for turn 4, where you don't have to make that quick jot back to the right, where you can gradually drive over to the right to set up for that turn left onto the oval. But that turn left on the oval is basically a one lane area because it's not a very wide area for pavement. But guys were making passes there, some in the grass, some just again, guys were taking different lines on the exit even too. Some were drifting it way wide. Some were kind of cutting it narrow. So it made for some interesting lines through there. But overall, I think it was a very challenging circuit. And, I have some ideas of what I think I'd like to see him try for next year. But I think if they keep that section in, I think that'll be good.
Aside from the racetrack, some news dropping in the paddock, of course. Greg Jasperson and Steve Vermeer using the event as an opportunity to announce the 2022 schedules and the return of Grand Nationals, of course, the return of the Spring Nationals, but they added a new race over the New Year's Eve weekend, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's a unique opportunity for 4-cycle racers to go racing. And ironically, the schedule kind of works out to where it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type scenario. December 31st through January 2nd, they're going to host the first ever Winter Nationals at the 103rd Street Sports Complex in Jacksonville, Florida. Essentially, that will be the opening round for the South Division, which is managed by Brett Spotty of the Bushnell Motorsports Park. He's part of the, helping to organize and keep things down there. So Brett was actually on hand too. It was kind of unique. We were watching this banner getting put up on a fence, and it was Greg and Brett putting it up together. So it was quite unique. And, obviously it was kind of a shock moment because nobody really knew anything about it. And they were just here's the schedule. This is what we're doing.
Well, it's very interesting, right? Because normally there would be a press release and we'd be getting it on eCardians. We'd be posting it up and whatever.
Greg does not like to do things normal.
This is kind of old school almost, right? It's kind of like an old school deal. Here we're going, guys. Here's a banner.
It is. So the Winter Nationals, that'll be unique because one of the things you think of when you're thinking of that time of the year, WK Daytona Kart Week.
Yep.
Well, Daytona Kart Week ends December 30th. So there's some racers that have the opportunity to do 3 days of racing in Daytona and then boom, go up to Jacksonville and race for 3 days up in Jacksonville. So 6 straight days of racing, 2 different racetracks and 2 different organizations.
Yeah, 103rd Street Sports Complex, the event for the Winter Nationals. The Spring Nationals going back to Charlotte Motor Speedway on March the 4th, 5th, and 6th. The Grand Nationals 6 for September 29th to October 2nd back at Newcastle Motorsports Park. And David, not just that these kind of one-off events, but they also rolled out the schedule for both the CKNA North program and the South program.
Yeah, well, let's start with the South since I said the Winter Nationals will open up as the opening round for that program. The third round will actually be the Spring Nationals. So this is going to be more of a true Southern division where last year all the races were held in Florida. This year it's going to 1, 2, 3 different states in 4 races. So round 3 will be at Charlotte with the Spring Nationals. Round 2 will actually be in February 4th through the 6th at Monticello Kart Track, I believe in northern part of Florida. Up there
up in the Panhandle, right?
I want to say it's not quite in the Panhandle, but in the northern part, kind of like between Jacksonville and the Gulf Coast, kind of in between that no man's land area, north of Ocala, that's for sure. Yeah. So yeah, Spring Nats will be round 3. Round 4 will be May 13th through the 15th at NOLA Motorsports Park. So heading over to Louisiana. So maybe possibly trying to get some of those Texas drivers to be part of the program as well. Again, this is kind of a true Southern division with all the different racetracks that they will be following. And they also mentioned a possible 5th round to be added with information to be announced at a later time.
Interesting. And you're right, Dave, because obviously last year with the launch of the South Series, it was a Florida-only series. So this kind of expands out, as you said, into North Carolina, into northern Florida as well, into Louisiana. So, yeah, most definitely a more southern program. It's a little more travel. Good stuff.
Yeah, and the Northern Division, kind of very similar to what we've seen before. 4 different rounds at tracks very familiar. Yet the first round, opening round, not yet named, will be on April 22nd through the 24th. So that'll open up the division for the North Division for 2022. June 10th through the 12th will be the Concept Haulers Motor Speedway as the second round. Before heading to Shawano, Wisconsin on July 8th through the 10th. And then everything will wrap up on August 12th through the 14th at Michiana Raceway Park in South Bend, Indiana.
Nice. So there's some paddock pass information. Well, let's just touch on this to cap off the paddock pass before we roll into our next break and come back with our first race report. Dude, you made me laugh. Marshall and Stacy Gunn, whoever came up with Flat Rob Howden, dude, I laughed all weekend long. I'm literally looking at my social media, and I'm getting tagged in all these photos. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. That was interesting. I was there. I was there in spirit, which is good.
Yeah, you were there in spirit. Yeah, Stacy and Marshall were really upset that you couldn't be there to #get beat by David Cole. Yeah. and so Stacy thought of the idea of why don't we get a billboard cutout of Rob? Yeah, God. It might not have been 100% accurate.
Or full size, like my God.
In terms of height, but it was still, kind of had to do with the photos that we actually had a full size image of you, and that was a perfect one. Everybody's like, "Where's his arm?" I said, "Well, you have to be, yeah, you have to put your arm around Rob to take the photo." So finally, people started to understand that a little more when we were posting the photos. So.
Well, the photos from you and I at Rock Island, isn't it? That's the shot.
It is. It's what? Oh man, 7-year-old photo.
Yeah, you were driving the victory cart that weekekend, I think.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And
Yep. But couldn't they at least maybe as tall as Rusty Ferguson?
No, I think it was much better that you were shorter because it made AJ Roderick and Jamie Bradford and all those all those short guys happier because you were and Rusty a little bit shorter,
a little bit on the more like an Italian test cart guy, like a little 5'2" guy that would run an Italian cart.
Yeah, the belly didn't show that.
No, what are you talking? I look really good in that picture. Actually, give me a break. All right, folks, let's go to a break. When we get back, it's time to start talking about these races. Stay with us. More to come here on the Debrief. Hey, West Coast Carters. We've hit the halfway point in the season, and it's time to get down to business with the stretch run. If you're a karter in NorCal, don't miss the last 2 races of the KPX Karting Championship. We hit a bit of a bump with our schedule on our venues, so we're thrilled to be finishing off our 2021 season with a pair of races with the Durbin family at the awesome Prairie City Kart Track in Rancho Cordova, California. The KPX program gets back on track on September 25th and 26th at Prairie City, and then we're back with our season finale there on October 9th and 10th, which is right before the IKF Sprint Grand Nationals. This will be the ideal opportunity to test before taking your run at the iconic Duffy Trophy. The KPX Karting Championship is the regional program for Briggs 206 and IAME KA100 competition in California. We welcome all karters to come to challenge themselves against the best in the state while having an awesome experience along the way. For more information, visit www.kpxkarting.com, and we hope to see everyone at Prairie City. Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer. With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. Welcome back to episode 85 of the EKN Debrief, our race report podcast detailing Grand Nationals number 6 for the Cup Karts North America crew. Let's jump into the race report right now. David Cole, of course, was trackside with our EKN coverage, but also raced throughout the weekend. This race report presented by Kart Sport North America. The Kart Republic is here, and it just keeps on winning. Kart Sport North America is the country's importer and distributor of the Kart Republic chassis, and it's a leader in American karting. They're focused on providing stability for the sport and quality products and service for the community. The Kart Republic senior and junior chassis are on fire, and so is the mini kart, which has won in SCUSA, USBKS, and WKA competition. For more information, contact Kart Sport North America, where they offer top quality products, winning brands, and professional driver development services. All right, David, in this particular group, we've got, 3 classes you're going to hit on. You are going to rock through the senior classes, medium, light, and heavy. Let's start with medium, 63 entries in total.
Yeah, certainly the headline division, the last class in the order. So it was the kind of the main event as we wrapped up the Grand Nationals on Sunday, and certainly provided some fireworks there at the end. To begin things, Brandon Jarzakrak, who we knew was going to be among the front runners all weekend long, making his event debut, set fast time in qualifying with a 1:17.149, able to edge out his Coyote teammate Paulie Massimino, with North Division champion Mick Gabriel in third. When it came to the heat races, again, split up based on odd qualifying and even qualifying, 2 different rounds. Colin Warren was the only driver to win both of his heat races, winning both in the wet in heat 1 and then in the dry in heat 2. Gary Lawson and Brandon Jarzakrak were the other 2 heat race winners. So the 2 heat wins gave Colin Warren the pole position for the main event, with Brandon Jarzakrak alongside him on the front row. Gary Lawson and Paulie Massimino rounding out the second row, with Adrian Cruz and Matt Winfrey in row 3. Cruz is the notable one. He actually jumped out to the lead early on in the main event, starting from that 5th position. He and Colin Warren were kind of able to break away there through the middle part of the event. But as the laps wind down, they began to fight, which allowed Gary Lawson and Brandon Jarzakrak to close up back in. Coming to the white flag, this is when kind of the fireworks really, really began. Lawson actually went from third entering the scoreboard to leading at the white flag, going from third to first in just a matter of 2 corners. Got out to a kind of a good lead, got a really big jump there at the white flag, but Warren and Jarzakrak were able to run him both down. Warren did the over and under at the scoreboard to kind of set up a side-by-side between them two going down into the final corner. As they came out of the final corner side-by-side still, they were drag racing down to the line. Warren got a little bit of a better run down the straightaway and was able to reach the checkered flag first by a mere 14 thousandths of a second ahead of
Wow. Wow. First and foremost, here's my comment. 2 guys break away. What the hell are they doing racing at the end? They should have been sticking with each other. If it sounds like it was a 2-driver breakaway, if they wouldn't have been racing, it would have been down to just Cruz and Warren. You think that would be the case, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how it unfolded. I don't know because Cruz led the majority of the laps, and it looked like Warren was like, okay, I want to go now. And I think Cruz kind of fought with him on trying to take over the top spot. And again, once you provide an opportunity for Gary Lawson to run you down,
right?
I mean, he's going to do it. It's not like it was a big gap. I mean, you're talking, maybe 50 feet. So it wasn't a lot of room that they had established over Gary.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a 3-second advantage, that's for sure. But
drag race to the lines, flipping cool to hear though. That's awesome. 14,000ths of a second. We didn't talk about it in the in talking about the layout itself, David. How was that final corner? Isn't it? It's kind of that it's like a compression coming through there, right? How was that as kind of a final hairpin, right? Because you said they didn't use the Monza, right?
Well, we didn't use the Monza. We've used the cut through before, so
I know that.
It was from scoreboard to the cutoff.
Yeah,
it was certainly a faster run. Again, because of the banking, the way that the corner is laid out, I mean, you could go through there really quick. But again, you get a little bump in the bumper, you might drift a little wide and somebody will be able to get under you as you come up back onto the final straight. So it's almost like a Bristol kind of turn.
Yeah,
kind of reminded me of that. I think it's more interesting than an I-70 corner.
Okay.
Because I think you go through a lot, especially in the Briggs, you're going through there a lot quicker than you would I-70. So I like the corner. It makes it for you don't have to defend, because if you defend, you might drift out a little bit too wide and somebody might be able to pull the under on you.
So Warren wins by 14,000th, lost in second. How the rest of the top five look?
Yeah, Jarzakrak was right there. Wasn't really sure which direction he wanted to go. He's kind of boxed in on the outside because Cruz was right there. But once he cleared Cruz, he kind of went back and forth, not really sure which direction to go. Couldn't quite make it a 3-wide run at the line. So kind of tucked in there behind Warren. Not really sure how much Jarzakrak's bump helped Warren. It looked like Warren just had a little bit more of a momentum thing going on. So Cruz ended up finishing a close fourth with Cole Nelson on the Invader, ended up winning the battle for fifth.
Nice. Good job for Cole. 63 entries in senior medium. We'll move to senior light right now, 52 in total. And David, looks like Jarzakrak and Warren, both those guys pretty quick in that category as well. Jarzakrak with the fastest lap in qualifying.
Yeah, fastest lap in qualifying. Again, not quite sure what happened in the heat races. Corey Tolles ended up winning the opening heat race, while Logan Adams ended up scoring the victory in the second. That one was on a wet racetrack. The first one was in the rain. Not quite sure exactly how much rain was going on. Again, trying to race and work was I can't exactly remember everything.
Exactly, you're racing at the same time.
But the main point is Logan Adams ended up winning the pole position for the main event after heat points were calculated. Corey Tolles on the outside of the front row. Brandon Jarzakrak starting in third alongside Colin Warren, with Eli Fox and Ian Quinn starting it from row 3. The interesting part about the senior light main event, and you can see the video up on Facebook. You can see it on Instagram. Essentially, as the carts were getting put onto the front stretch, a little bit of a rain shower decided to dampen up the racetrack, as it was already dry from the race before them. So it was a bit of a chaotic scene for a 3-minute period of drivers deciding, do we stay with the dry tires or do we go to wets? And those that went to the wet tires certainly made the right call, as the rain came down just enough to really kind of dampen the racetrack. Yeah. And then, as we would see later in the race, a heavy rain began to fall with a couple laps remaining.
So how did it all shake down? Who was the big dog in this one?
So actually, Tolles kept dry tires on. Unfortunately for him, that put him towards the back of the field, and I think he eventually pulled off, not able to sustain any kind of grip out there on the damp racetrack. That allowed, at the start, Jarzakrak was able to jump away and get out to a really solid lead over Colin Warren. Had probably about 3 seconds over Colin as they about the midway point and nearing the end. Unfortunately, as we said, heavy rains came down in the final laps. So that was really a deciding factor in the way the race ran, because Jarzakrak didn't have air filter cover on his engine.
No.
Majority of the other drivers did. So as Jarzakrak had a solid lead, started hearing the engine cut out and wouldn't run, and really lost that advantage. Colin Warren was able to take away the lead, I believe, prior to the white flag, and then Jarzakrak essentially limped around on the final circuit trying to keep water from soaking in onto the air filter. So essentially, Warren was able to thank the rain gods for their dumping onto the racetrack, as he was able to power away to a 7-second advantage in the final couple of laps to score a back-to-back victory as the defending race winner.
What we see for the rest of the podium?
Jarvis Crack was able to hold on to the 4th position, as Micah Hendricks was able to drive up into the 2nd position. Dylan Amundsen finished in 3rd, with Jordan Bernlohr up to the 5th spot.
Yeah, Micah Hendricks coming from that hotbed of rain racing, Phoenix, Arizona. That's good for him. That's pretty solid. I don't think they get a lot of rain racing in Phoenix.
No, I think he does do something in Southern California whenever it rains there.
Hardly rains there either. Come on, let's be real. Good for him though. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he certainly had a quick package in the wet weather, which was, as you said, kind of unique. But Micah Hendricks can wheel it.
We know that.
Shifters to I think anytime you drive a shifter and you go into a Briggs, you can pretty much handle anything. Yeah,
Mike is definitely a great shoe, and like you said, could handle anything. That's a good one for Warren, back to back there. Senior heavy, David, 41 entries. And again, we talked about this in the outlap preview. Medium's that middle ground, so the heavy guys can get down to medium, the light guys can get up to medium. That all works well. 41 in total in the senior heavy class. Give me the rundown of how things shook out in that category.
Late entry was Gary Lawson, only entered in medium when we talked about him in the outlap preview podcast. Was a at-track decision to race the senior heavy division, in which he won last year. But was upset in qualifying. Jeff Shaw shocking the paddock with fast time in qualifying with a 1:18.780 to edge out Gary Lawson for fast time. The opening heat race was in the dry. That's where Lawson kind of put down the stamp of, hey, I'm the defending champion. Let me show the way, and was able to score the victory. Second heat race was again Lawson. This time it was in the wet. Which provided a little bit of drama and some fireworks. Finishing 4th there was Eric Fagan, though. Actually qualified last, fought his way up through the opening heat race. Not quite sure where he finished there, but ended up finishing in 4th in the 2nd. And that moved him up, as we talked about when you calculated the points, to put him 5th on the main event grid. As Lawson and Aaron Lloyd filled out the front row, Shaw starting 3rd alongside Clay Settles, with Fagan and AJ Roderick filling up the 3rd row. Unfortunately for Fagan, a clutch issue as he was leaving the grid forced him to pull off and was unable to complete. So that would have made things a little bit interesting. What did make things interesting was tire choice. A handful of drivers actually gambled with dry tires because, again, it was just a bit of a damp racetrack. The Legends category had just finished up their main event, and Senior Heavy was next in the order. Okay. So a handful of drivers actually gambled with dry tires. Again, it was something that was throughout the weekend. When the track was drying, it didn't dry up fast. So it kind of was a questionable, okay, do we stay with rains or do we go to dries? And we'll get into the other category where it really dried up really fast. That'll be after the commercial break. That'll
be you making excuses for what happened down there.
There you go. So a handful of drivers actually gambled with dry tires. One of them being Adam Maxwell. Maxwell started in the 11th position and just was able to hold on for the first couple of laps. By lap 3, that's when it was like, okay, dry tires was the right decision because the track dried.
You knew that quick into the race? Oh, man.
You could, again, you're watching lap times and you're watching the way drivers progress. Yeah. I think Maxwell got up to 8th in the opening lap, was able to hold on. Lawson, meanwhile, up front, was able to get away, I think, it was almost a 4-second advantage by the time Adam Maxwell got into the 2nd position. But because the lap times were so much quicker on the dry tires, it only took him 2 to 3 laps to be able to close up to Lawson. And then from there, once around Lawson, just drove away to a 12-second margin of victory to score the victory.
Yeah, that's always a tough thing, right? At the very top of the show, we said if it's going to rain, rain. The minute it's this back and forth thing, which we've seen before happen at the Grand Nationals, it's just such a crapshoot sometimes. Good call for the Amex crew to put Adam on the dries. That's big. Good for him.
Yeah, Matt Lyda was another one, started 12th, so right next to Adam Maxwell on the grid. He went to dry tires and was able to drive up into the second spot as Lawson basically held on with his rain tires into the third position. Jacob Duvall nearly was able to close up to Lawson in the closing laps. He was also another driver that was on dry tires. He ended up going from 13th to 4th. And then Mike Smith started. Let me double check that. Hold on. I got to double check that.
That's fine.
I'll hang in here. Yeah, he did start. He started 16th, was on the wet tires, was able to move up really quickly, move up big early on, and then essentially hang on with the rain tires to finish.
Oh, okay, man. Well, good shot for Adam Maxwell with a win there. All total, a couple of wins there. We said to start things off for Colin Warren, Adam Maxwell winning in that senior heavy class. We get back, we'll talk about the older guys. We'll go Masters and Legends after this quick break. Le Mans, Daytona, Sebring. The most legendary endurance races in the world, where man and machine push the limits of physics in an attempt to beat their competition and the clock. Are you ready to take on this challenge yourself? Well, the SimCraft 24 Hours of NOLA karting event returns for 2021 with USAC Karting. And this year, the event will tackle the popular and challenging NOLA Motorsports in New Orleans, Louisiana. This year's event will take place on December 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. With the field already exploding after the 2020 edition, there are only 4 entry spots remaining for the field of 50. It's going to be an exciting event with factory and dealer-supported entries from CRG, TV Kart, Praga Kart, Margay, Mac Minarelli, Burrell Art, and Tony Kart. Don't miss your chance to race in the biggest 24-hour kart race in the Americas. To register your team, head to 24hrsofnola.com to find the rules and event schedule. Motor mounts are critical to producing 100% of the power your engine has to get you on the podium each and every time. Odenthal Racing Products provide the best motor mounts in the karting market today. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience, providing products with unmatched quality and value for the karting market. Our newest product is the Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, available in 0, 5, and 8-degree angles, providing a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a medium with fins underneath to help dissipate heat off the engine. Our 4-cycle EZ set is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability, depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, ORP wedge clamps get the job done, featuring a number of updates to its design for a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro sizes. Head to OdenthalRacing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, made in the USA. Back at it here with a new edition of the EKN Debrief, our race report podcast of the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals 5 at Newcastle Motorsports Park on the opening weekend of October. This race report brought to you by Kart Sport North America. David, let's jump into your category, the Masters class, 47 entries in total.
I don't want to talk. Just kidding. No, it was good. It was a very competitive field. I mean, probably anybody in the top 20 could have won this because I didn't qualify in the top 20. So anybody above me certainly had a chance to win this. Qualifying again. I didn't think this lap time was possible. Michael Dittmer was able to put it down a 119.050 to secure the fast time in the qualifying session with my teammate, my CRG teammate, Ryan Spirowski, ended up in the second position. Jacob Noir in third. Mike Smith from Cal Speed in fourth, and Tim Schutt, an actual Legends driver, doing double duty in the fifth spot. So that Schutt was pretty impressive doing the double duty all weekend. Full wet, complete downpour in our opening heat race. We'll have the video up on EKN YouTube here later this week.
Look forward to seeing that.
It was a fun one. It was certainly, because again, it was full on wet, and there was a lot of spray throughout that race. But Dittmer was able to control the opening heat race. Eric Fagan, again, kind of the similar, had to change engines, started last in the opening heat race. He actually passed me on the last lap to finish. I want to say it was 16th in the opening heat race from dead last. And then in the second heat race, which was a drying track, so everybody was on dry tires, moved up from 16th to finish first in just 10 laps. So amazing drive for Fagan. He actually ended up starting in the fourth position, with Jamie Bradford earning the pole position after finishing fourth and second over the two heat races. That put Michael Dittmer into the second spot on the outside of the pole for the main event. This one was all Fagan. Fagan was able to jump out to the lead. Again, I guess I got to talk about it, don't I? The way the track.
Yeah. Let's set up what happened in the track and what the situation was like. You don't need to talk about the call you made.
No. So, let's see. So we talked about what the downpour came in senior light, correct? Yeah. So there was a big, heavy downpour. The next race in the order was Kid Kart, which certainly wasn't going to dry up the racetrack. And then junior was the next race in the order before Masters. And even the junior karts everybody was all on wet tires. Okay. And for some reason, at the end of the junior race, the sun came out and decided to heat up the racetrack, and the humidity level just soared right up and just sucked up all the moisture off the racetrack. So nearly everybody, the large majority of the field, made the quick change, while again on the front stretch, or some even in the pre-grid area, to dry tires. Fagan Fagan started fourth, was into the lead by the opening lap, and essentially led wire to wire. Unfortunately, came in underweight at the scales, so essentially took away the victory for him. That put Michael Dittmer, who was sitting there in second the entire race, to the top of the podium, winning by 1.7 seconds over Newcastle Motorsports regular Steve Knight. Jacob Neary in the third position, with Matthew Grunholtz in the fourth position. Yep. And then Ryan Sprowski in fifth. So a CRG in the top five.
So you're saying that the kart was good enough to get to the top five?
The kart was. Yes. There was no doubt about it, Rob. Again, we had another top five kart that did not finish in the top five.
All right, you know what? Did you have fun? I'm not even going to say it. I don't want to beat on you. Did you have fun?
Hashtag I beat Mike Smith.
All right. I get that.
That was the main concern. No, again, I didn't trust myself on a drying track with dry tires. I thought starting dead last, it was going to be chaotic at the start, and it kind of was. So probably by lap 3, rain tires was a good selection, and then after that, everything went to.
Did you start dead last in the main?
Yes, we had to start dead last due to
change the motor, right?
Engine change after heat 2. We had some issues with the engine in heat 2, so I had to start dead last. Otherwise, it was actually a good omen, because otherwise I would have had to start next to Mike Smith, and Mike Smith got taken out on the opening lap, so I probably would have been in that chaos, and so I probably wouldn't have finished this race. But this one, I finished the race. I didn't get lapped. All right. I got to experience what it's like to drive rain tires on a dry track. It's not very fun.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, let's move on to the 50 guys that are 50 and up. Let's go to the Legends category. 38 entries in total. You already talked about the fact that Tim Schutt had qualified 5th in the Masters class. Obviously, jumping into that the Legends class at 50 and over. Tim, who I believe was a CKNA South champion. Am I correct in that?
No, Spring Nationals winner.
Spring Nationals winner. Yep. He ends up with a pretty quick lap time of 1:19.402.
Yeah, he was essentially the driver to beat in Legends. He was there. Phil Pignataro was another. Unfortunately, he had some issues in qualifying to where he got something stuck in the jet. Ended up qualifying in, I want to say, like 13th or 15th. So he actually had to work his way forward up through the heat races. The opening heat race was in dry weather or wet weather, actually, because it was dry weather actually for them because they were second in the order. Tim was able to drive to the win with Todd Barron in second. The second heat race was in the wet with Schutt still leading the way ahead of Barron. So those two filled up the front row for the main event. Barron jumped out to the lead. Again, a wet race or damp racetrack, not a very wet racetrack, but everybody on rain tires.
Okay. Yep.
Barron jumped out to the lead. Schutt fell back a little bit, but was able to close up. And as he did, they actually caught some lap traffic that were on dry tires, which I'm not quite sure why this guy was still out there on dry tires because he was about 10 seconds a lap too slow. Barron actually slammed the guy in the back bumper, which spun him around. And that made Tim Schutt actually have to drive off the racetrack to avoid hitting him. That was just prior to the green corner at that little kink that is a pretty quick kink in both Briggs and the shifters and everything else. So Schutt lost that gap lost that rear bumper position that he was on. Yeah. Barron had to drive back up to the bumper, but just wasn't quite able to do that in the closing laps. And that allowed Todd Barron to go on to score the victory.
So what was the remainder of the top five? Line it up for us.
Tim Schutt finished second again, just not enough time to make a battle for the victory. Finishing in third was James Insko.
Yeah,
that's how you say that name. With Joe Senna able to get by Jerry Miller in the closing laps for the fourth position.
Good stuff. All right, folks, we're going to wrap things up here with the race report. After this break, we'll tell you about junior, sportsman, and kid kart. Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of many drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Based in Lodi, California, Leading Edge Motorsports is the Western importer with IP karting that includes the Praga and Formula K chassis brands. Leading Edge Motorsports provides in-depth driver development for those racers in Northern California and across the country. Arrive and drive services, kart preparation, and driver coaching are available under the LEM tent throughout the season. Bell's record of working with drivers includes recent victories at North America's biggest karting events, including the Rock the Rio and the SCUSA Super Nationals. Greg Bell's knowledge for building engines spans 2 decades and is now under the Mega Power branding, providing a reliable engine service and tuning knowledge. No matter the chassis brand, choose Mega Power to get to the front. Click over to leadingedgemotorsports.com for more and find them on social media to stay connected. At Leading Edge Motorsports, winning never gets old. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the kid kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. Back in the EKN studio for another edition of the EKN Debrief. We're wrapping up the CKNA Grand Nationals 5 from Newcastle Motorsports Park. This edition of the Race Report brought to you by Karts North America. I'm Rob Howden, joined by David Cole, who was trackside, both cover the event and racing as well. David, let's jump into junior, sportsman, and kid kart to cap off the race report. 62 entries in junior, one of the probably biggest sprint karting events for junior drivers in the country this year.
Yeah, and a lot of familiar names that we see throughout the country racing in the junior divisions were in this field, including Austin Jers, a SCUSA Pro Tour race winner in 2021. He was able to set fast time in qualifying with a 1:18.149. Parker DeLong in second, with James Overbeck in third, Ben Mayer in fourth, and then Cale Zimmerman, one of the top Briggs junior racers in the country, in the fifth spot. Come to heat races, it ended up being Overbeck scoring 2 wins in his 2 heat races, with Ben Mayer and Bacon Zelenka earning the other victory. So the 2 wins gave Overbeck the pole position for the main event, with Zelenka in the outside pole position. Ben Mayer and Spencer Conrad in the Nitro Karts. They ended up filling up row 2 with Austin Jers and Henry Wheeler in row 3.
Okay.
Main event time, it was all Overbeck. Overbeck was able to get out to a solid lead. Again, a damp track on rain tires.
Okay.
What's that?
So a damp track on rain tires.
Yes, they were the race before us in the Masters category. So,
all right. Yep.
Again, it dry. Again, damp track, drying out. Yeah, Overbeck essentially ran away with it, got out to a good lead early on, and was never challenged throughout the 15 laps to end up pulling out to a 9-second victory to score his first Grand Nationals title.
Spencer Conrad coming home in second, Austin Jers in third, but your notes tell me here that a half spin for Conrad?
Yeah, he was Jers got up into the second position.
Yep.
Conrad was trying to get around him at green corner, got a little bit sideways during the pass attempt, actually fell back to, I want to say, the 6th position. I think this was around lap 3 or 4. But from there, I was able to put down fast laps of the race to drive his way back up into the 2nd position ahead of Jers, with Ben Mayer finishing in 4th. And then Addison Iannello ended up winning the battle for 5th. Interesting little side note on Spencer Conrad.
Yeah.
We made some bets there over the weekend. I told him if he won, he could shave my head.
Wow.
So I got lucky there that James Overbeck was very dominant in that race.
Yeah, that would have been different.
And then I told him, I said if I finish in the top 15, I could shave off his hair. So he got really lucky. I went to wet tires instead of dry tires.
Wow, that's just an interesting bet to have with a junior driver, David. Good for you.
Well, he's got that good mullet going. I thought it would be fun. I didn't even know where he was, because I was bugging him like, "Hey, when do I get to shave that?" And he goes, "No, I want to shave your head." And I said, "Well, all right. Well, then you should win." And he didn't. So.
Well, there you go. He dodged the bullet, gets to keep the mullet, and but shout out to Addison Iannello as well. Good for her to get herself into the top 5 there in a stacked class of 62 drivers. Again, 62 there. We're going to graduate more sportsmen up into that class next year. Sportsmen, again, David, you mentioned, like you said, in junior, a lot of the names we see running in other programs as well. 53 in total, and a kid we've watched do a lot of racing, cadet racing this year, a lot of winning, a lot of podium finishes. Keelan Harvick out of the gate with a pole position during qualifying. Yeah,
it was the Keelan Harvick show in the sportsman class, as he was able to win both his heat races after setting fast time in qualifying. Caleb Tarter was the other driver to win both of his heat races. So we actually had 2 drivers win both heat races. So they ended up filling up the front row for the main event, with Isaac Malcutt in the 3rd position. Phaethon.
Phaethon. I say Phaethon.
Phaethon
Serratapon.
Were in row 2 with Wes Gundler and Reagan Seville from Texas in row 3. Ended up being a 4-driver breakaway in the main event. That included Harvick, Tarter, Malcutt, and Serratapon. they were able to kind of break away from the rest of the field. Harvick led the majority of the race and wasn't challenged until the last lap, with Seredipon putting on the pressure. A little bit of an over-under at the scoreboard corner, and then once again in the final corner, setting up for a great drag race to the checkered flag. At the line, it was Kevin Harvick scoring the victory over Seredipon by 93 thousandths of a second.
That sounded like Colin Warren and Gary Lawson, but a little younger, right? Same kind of deal?
Yeah, same kind of deal. Again, the over-under, again, you get a good run out of scoreboard. You're going to pull up alongside. You get a good run out of the final corner, and then you pull up alongside again. Again, neither had a drafting partner this time. Yeah. So it was driver versus driver.
Well done for Keelan for the win. Seredipon in second, Caleb Tarter third, Isaac Malkit fourth, and as David said, Cade Yeager rounding out the top five. David, Kid Karts, we said at the very start when we looked at the numbers, a good field for Kid Karts, and I like seeing this. We talked about this in the Outlap preview. This is going to become potentially one of these big Kid Kart races that they can come to and really kind of get themselves some time in the spotlight. 18 entries in total. Tyson Underwood qualifying on the pole, and those of you who maybe weren't there, they don't run the full racetrack, right? They run a smaller racetrack using the primary early corners.
Yeah, they go 1, 2, and then instead of turning right at turn 3, they do the cut through at turn 3 to go back to scoreboard corner. They'll go through scoreboard corner and then utilize the actual Monza corner, and then along with the cut through to come back to the start finish line. So the same layout as what they've run there the last 2 years, and I want to say that's the same layout they've run all 5 of the Grand Nationals. So again, it keeps all the drivers within visibility of the paddock, and then the front stretch for all the parents to be able to watch and see what their kids are doing. On track, it was actually Tyson Underwood that set fast time in qualifying, and he was the driver to beat, winning both heat races, I want to say in the wet weather conditions. So certainly another Arizona driver who was good in the wet weather conditions. Maybe it's the sand there. I don't know. Maybe. Underwood earning both the races both wins in the heat races put him on pole position for the main event. Before they got the green flag, it was Camden Clay, who was supposed to start 11th, stalled on the pace lap, and then was sitting there waiting for a corner worker to finally get him refired. And once refired, he was able to rejoin the field. Underwood led until about a half spin coming out of the scoreboard corner, slowed his momentum. That dropped him down the order, I want to say, to about 6th spot. That allowed Austin Taylor of Indiana to take over the lead. And he led until Camden Clay, again, starting from 11th, nearly missed the main event because his engine stalled, charged up through the field, was able to take over the top position, and then drive away with the lead to a 4.7 advantage to take the Grand Nationals victory.
Solid stuff for sure. Good wrap-up of what happened in the Kid Kart category. One more break. When we get back, we'll jump into the wrap-up section, folks. Then we'll have a look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar to let you know where we'll be for the remainder of the 2021 season. Stay with us. More to come. In Colorado, the place to go for karts and parts and everything else you need to go racing is Forward Direction Motorsports. It's Colorado's premier karting company. Owned and operated by veteran karter Greg Welch, Forward Direction Motorsports is located in Centennial, Colorado. FDM has been developed to provide customer service and product sales at all levels and in both in-person and online. We're a brick and mortar shop that serves as the hub for karting in Colorado, and we're a gateway to new racers who can come in and learn about the sport. We also have an online store and can ship all over the country. We can also service all makes and models of engines and karts. Whatever you race, we can take care of you. Forward Direction Motorsports is a comp kart dealer, an authorized Rotax service center, and we can fully support all Briggs 206 racers. We support local karting 100%, and we also have a race team that takes our customers to major regional and national events on the West Coast. From kart prep and coaching to full arrive and drive packages, we offer something for everyone. You don't have to live in Colorado to experience Full Direction Motorsports' vast experience or dedication to customer service. Our online store continues to expand its inventory, and the products you need are just a mouse click away. Head to fdmkarting.com the next time you need parts and equipment fast. We ship daily. Shop online or come to the store to check out our inventory and visit our service department. Head to fdmkarting.com to learn more about our products and services, or call us direct at 720-323-3650. Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. Meticulously engineered and manufactured in Japan, DID Genuine Parts are the world's #1 original parts supplier for Japanese and European motorcycle manufacturers. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to longer chain life as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. Welcome back to the final segment of our EKN Debrief, number 85, as we talk about the CKNA Grand Nationals. Let's wrap things up, David, with the Constructors' Championship. It looks like 7 different brands scoring race wins.
Yeah, 7 different brands over the 8 categories. Again, the only one to double up because it was the same driver and Colin Warren was VLR. So they were the only chassis to score 2 victories on the weekend. Deadly Kart. Again, I don't think it's even being made anymore. With Todd Barron scoring the victory in Legends, the Evo, with Adam Maxwell scoring victory in Senior Heavy. Eagle Kart with Michael Dittmer in the Masters division, Nitro Kart with Keelan Harvick in Sportsman, Top Kart in Kid Kart with Camden Clay, and then Tony Kart with James Overbeck scoring that win.
That's got to be the biggest spectrum of the fact, like just one win we've seen in a long time in any one of our debriefs, dude. That's normally it's, we lean in one direction. Somebody has 5 or 6 wins, whatever it may be. That's a pretty good spread, a spread of different chassis. That's awesome.
Yeah, 2 American made. You have 1 made in Australia,
yeah.
Couple made in Italy, and then the Nitro Kart, or a few made in Italy, Evo, Top Kart, and Tony Kart. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's have a look at one of the cool things. Obviously, Dave's 6 drivers getting their first career CKNA Grand Nationals. There's obviously a lot of big guns we see up front. You go to a Rock Island, some of these races, Quincy, you're going to see a lot of people that log wins, right? That they're constant guys there. It's cool to see 6 guys winning their first ever victories at the Grand Nationals.
Well, I think that just goes to show the level of competition that's at this event. I mean, you talk about, former winners, a Gary Lawson, a Mike Welch, some of the other junior drivers not able to come back and repeat. That just kind of shows you the level of competition that's at this event.
How about Colin Warren? Is this his kind of private playground right now, or what?
Well, yeah, you just said it. How kind of Rock Island, you're able to kind of rack up the victories. Well, he's been able to do that racing since the beginning, since the first Grand Nationals back in 2017. It was actually that year they actually had 2 main events. So some drivers were able to double up, such as Colin Warren did in Medium Open, winning both main events that year, and then again in 2018.
Yep.
But he's also been able to go back to back in Senior Light. So he's got 2 wins this year and last year. And this was his second time winning in the medium category, as he won the second main event back in 2017. So he's able to add a second with his win this past weekend.
Yeah, good for him. Hey, obviously some of the talk. What are your thoughts in terms of what are Greg Jasperson and Steve Vermeer thinking? What's the goal for 2022? I know that when I was there, I remember we talked to Steve and we're saying, hey, yeah, maybe there's a possibility of getting that 300 or 350. And Steve was like looking way down the line. What are they thinking about for 2022?
Yeah, I talked to him Sunday night, Vermeer, and he said, yeah, 500 is the number now. Wow. When you factor in that you can easily get about 100 Canadian drivers coming down to this event because, again, the Briggs & Stratton platform is so huge.
Yeah.
In your home country that a lot of those drivers are willing and able to, once the border opens up, that is, to come down and race this event. As something we saw in 2019 was the number of Canadians that were here racing. Again, most of them based in Ontario, but I think you'll be able to get a lot of West Coast, from British Columbia and Alberta and all the different provinces that Briggs & Stratton is so popular in.
Yeah, first and foremost, the hotbed of Ontario, right? In Newcastle, maybe about 8 hours away from Toronto. So really, it's a one-day drive, to be real. And you're right. There's a lot of great Briggs in the east, great Briggs in the west. Guys can come in. They can do some arrive and drives. They can haul out, whatever it may be. But yeah, 500 for 2022. What a weekend. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Wow.
One more thing that I added as we were talking, and I forgot to put in the script. We kind of talked about it in the outlet preview podcast. Michael Dittmer, the only driver to pull off the Triple Crown in 2021. He was able to win at the Spring Nationals, score the division champion, and then win the Grand Nationals in the Masters category. So the only driver to do that in 2021 was Michael Dittmer.
Wow. Good for Michael. That's fantastic.
Which, now with the way the schedule is next year, you almost want to think that Winter Nationals, Spring Nationals, and the Grand Nationals will now kind of be like the CKNA Triple Crown almost.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. That's amazing. All right, folks, let's wrap things up. We'll go to the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented today by Trinity Karting Group. Trinity Karting Group is your first step on the ladder to success. Based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, they literally have a track in their backyard and a controlled environment to develop your skills. Trinity Karting Group flattens out the steep learning curve with a professional staff that will put you on the right path. The focus is driver development, and they compete at the local, regional, and national levels. They have new and used packages available, and they are your Midwest source for Kart Republic chassis and IAME engines. Visit them at teamtkg.com or call 513-421-4463. All right, David, let's wrap things up here, bud. 2 more races. Really, that's all that's left on our schedule over the next 3 months, essentially. October 15th, 16th, 17th, the United States Pro Kart Series finale. You're heading back to GoPro Motorplex.
There's nothing wrong with going back to Mooresville, North Carolina. It's the Race City, USA. It's the site of the USPKS finale. Was there last year. We saw amazing racing last year, and we hope to see record numbers once again this year and decide all 7 of the championships for 2021.
And then, folks, we wrap it all up. We missed it last year. I'm looking forward to getting back to it because it's my favorite race of the year. Back December 1st to the 5th. I had to move it a bit because of the World Series of Poker at the Rio All Suite Hotel and Casino. But the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals back for edition number 24. Heading back to Las Vegas, back at the Rio. Can't wait for Super Sunday.
Oh, just the week of being in Vegas. Right. It's gonna be great to be back, and then it's gonna be very unique because we've never been there in December. So it's gonna be different. It's gonna feel great. It's just gonna have all different mix of emotions really throughout the week, and then as you said, just to be able to be back at Super Sunday. That's. You kind of get you almost get that feeling there at CKNA Grand Nationals of Sunday is the day. This is what we've built all this up for. And then now we go to Supernats in December now, and then get that same feeling on Super Sunday.
Looking forward to it for sure. 2 more races still to go on the EKN Trackside Live Tour presented by Cooper Tires. Big thank you to everybody at Cooper Tires for their support of ekartingnews.com and the karting community. Otherwise, we're done with this edition of the EKN Debrief. Those of you who were trackside at the CKNA Grand Nationals this past weekend, congrats on being part of something super special. Next year's going to be even bigger. Let's all cross our fingers. COVID has been really locked down by then. We can open up the borders, get the Canadians back down to go racing, because this event has all the makings of becoming its own Super Nationals, event that really has defined a couple of decades of racing. This event, the Super Nats, going into its 24th edition, and to be able to have an event like that, I think, for grassroots racing. Super Nats, of course, for guys, that's that kind of top of the pyramid, but for grassroots racers who can roll in with their cart in the back of a pickup truck, this Grand Nationals really is that foundation event. A part of a number of races like the Quincy Grand Prix, Rock Island, some of the races like that, which really have been, kind of stalwarts of this karting community here in North America. We do appreciate you joining us, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into the EKN Radio Network. Make sure you like and follow all of our social media channels. But this is it for this podcast. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.